Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Terry with College Football Stop. Bring you another show today. Obviously, we're into the time for contenders, the month of November. Football season's coming to an end, and maybe it'll be one to remember. That was ignorant. Anyway, uh, like I said, November 3rd, 2023. I'm super excited about this show. It was a big update yesterday on the Michigan cheating situation. I want to get into Week 10 of college football because honestly, we have a really big week that I think is going to be super impactful in terms of the college football playoffs and kind of how the year shakes out. And then I got some keys to victory for the Ohio State versus Rutgers game. Now, when I'm talking keys to victory in a game like this, I'm not talking about like keys to just win the game. Ohio State should win this game just on talent alone. However, there are some things that I want to see them do, and those are going to be my keys to victory. Because at this point, I'm looking at this team as it's the home stretch. I'm looking to see this team take the next step and become that championship team. You're number one. It's time to level up. You're either going to be number one, or you're going to play like you're number one, or you're going to lose that number one spot, and we won't know what this team is, I guess, until we play Michigan. So we'll see. I think they can do it, but I have some keys to victory for the game. So we'll get into that a little bit later. Let's start off with some national things here. The first thing is going to be Michigan. Obviously, that's I like to cover what's going on. First thing I want to do because there was crazy, crazy shit that broke yesterday, and I'm going to shout out the guys who did it. Menace to Sports, those are my guys. Chris Drew and Zach Smith over there. There was a video of a Michigan staffer named Alex Ude, who apparently got caught trying to meet up with a 13-year-old girl. The guy's like 22 years old. And apparently this happened a while back and was not reported by any of the Michigan beat guys or the content creators. I don't know. You would think that some of those guys would be tapped in and would have that information and would share it because that is a huge story. And I mean, I get a lot of people saying like, "Oh, it's not my place to report something like that." Blah blah blah. At the same time, if this is what you're doing for work or if this is what you want to get into, you can't just pick and choose what you want to. I mean, I guess you can. You can pick and choose what you want to report, but that's going to give a bad look on you, and people are not going to trust your opinion. That's just how it is. So, I mean, I don't want to talk about a Michigan football staffer going to meet a 13-year-old girl. Now, luckily, if any of you haven't seen the video, it was not it was not an actual 13-year-old girl that he was meeting, but that doesn't mean that he hasn't done it before. It was some guys that were like kind of like to catch a predator type. More, I do think they were um, more like self creators, but I mean, basically, they were talking to this guy, told him they were 13, um, and a female, obviously, and then they said, or he was saying things to them like, "Are you a virgin?" Stuff like that. Going to meet up with vodka at like a Walmart, which is crazy. I don't know, man. The whole situation's nuts, but the reason why that might be important is because one of the big things that Michigan fans have been talking about is how did this investigation come about? They want to blame Ryan Day. They want to blame Ryan Day's brother because of that Minnesota sports show I was talking about. Put that out as a joke, but I mean this could be something that caused this investigation to start. I mean, if this, obviously this is true because it was on video and you could see his reaction and all that good stuff. I'm sure that those guys, there's proof out there. But could this be the reason why the FBI originally started investigating Michigan? Maybe that led them to investigating Michigan computers, which led them to the Weiss thing, which led them to the cheating thing, which, I mean, all of that stuff could be true. I'm not saying it is, but it definitely could be. So I don't know, man. The subject of the show, or the at least the thumbnail and the title was, "Has Jim Harbaugh lost all control of his program?" And I honestly think that he kind of has. And I think that what happened was when Jim Harbaugh lost to Ryan Day in 2019, he said, "We're going to beat Ohio State or die trying." And I do think that it's kind of turned into we're going to beat Ohio State and die trying because obviously they beat Ohio State, but it took cheating. And I think that it took a lot of questionable things that Jim Harbaugh probably didn't want to do. He probably didn't want to become the coach that has a staff that cheats or the coach that has all these questionable characters on his staff. But being in a desperate situation can do that to a man, and that's kind of how I look at it. Like, I don't think that Harbaugh is this big terrible person, but I do think that he was in a desperate situation where he was about to lose his job and his reputation with his college, and basically his reputation at Michigan was going to go down as the coach who never beat Ohio State, the coach who just could never beat Ohio State. So yeah, he elevated the program, but he could never beat Ohio State. He could never make it on a national scale because of that. So I don't know. I think Harbaugh was probably desperate and did some things that even he would question if he was not in that state of mind. All right. So the other thing about this, I don't want to focus on that part too much. Just, I mean, it's terrible. The U guy, I mean, he needs to go to jail. I don't know if he is in jail. I don't know what's going on with the situation now. But at the same time, if this was known by like the staff and yeah, obviously it was because he got fired. You know, this guy doesn't work for Michigan anymore. It's not like he's still working there today and is about to get fired. But I don't know. I just think that if they knew about this, nothing was reported about it, nothing was said about it, which all of that just seems shady. Like, if someone at Ohio State, at any level, staffer at Ohio State, got caught doing something like this, it would be blasted all over the news. And Ryan Day probably wouldn't even be our head coach anymore. I mean, Ohio State would probably go ahead and take that step on their own and be like, look, unfortunately, we're going to cut ties because we don't know 100% fact if this was covered up by him or whatnot, you know? And again, not knowing all the details, saying something like that's a little bit of a stretch because you don't really know 100%. But at the same time, I know how Ohio State works. I mean, we lost a coach over tattoos, and we lost a coach over the Zach Smith situation, which, have your own opinion. I don't care, but like, I don't know. Zach Smith was never charged with beating his wife or domestic violence, like everyone thinks that he was or says that he was. I don't know all the details on it, so I'm not going to comment too much on it. But I know that I like Zach Smith's show, you know, and I mean, as a person, he seems all right. So anyway, moving on from that, the other thing with the Michigan situation is like I was talking about yesterday, how the coaches met with the Big Ten commissioner. The athletic directors actually met with the Big Ten commissioner, but it wasn't on like a call with all of them. Apparently, it was like he spoke to all of them individually. And then I don't know. Apparently, the Michigan State athletic director was really upset about the Michigan situation and was letting him know about that. I'm sure some of the other ones were, but it sounds like he was the most upset about it. And he kind of referenced last year how they were forced to suspend guys before an investigation completed with the tunnel incident that happened at Michigan last year. And it's kind of out of line and out of pocket that all the evidence is out so far about this, and no one's been suspended from it other than Connor Stallions, which is obvious, but that's not the same as, like, other people that are involved. So let me see what Evan has to say here. So not to keep. Nah, I got you. I got you, Evan. We're about to move on. He's talking about we talk about Michigan too much on the show, and listen, man, I don't want to talk about him too much. I agree with you there, but with the situation going on, you definitely want to at least talk about it because this does impact all the Big Ten going forward, right? So I don't know. We'll see. I think the Big Ten commissioner is probably going to step in soon and at least do something. There's reports that he potentially is like going to Michigan today. I don't know if that's true or not. That wasn't like something that was confirmed by big sources, but I heard that or seen that in a couple places. We'll see how this plays out. I think the Big Ten commissioner going there will be a big step, and everyone's kind of been putting pressure on him to make a move here. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I think that something probably will happen before the end of the season, whether that's like a coach being suspended or something like that. Something's going to come of this. But I do want to move on from that. I agree with you, Evan. I don't want to talk about them the whole time. I'm still sticking on the national scale right now. The next thing I want to talk about is just some games for you to watch this weekend. I know a lot of people may follow their team and not follow other ones, but this weekend could have a huge impact on the final college football playoffs. And there's just a couple games that I think you should probably watch, look out for, maybe check the score on as the day goes on. So some of those games, starting at the noon slate. There's Kansas State at Texas. So this is a big one. This is Texas's big test until they get back to the Big 12 championship if they win this and if they win out, obviously. But Kansas State's ranked 25, or this is the AP rankings. I'm looking at the just on Google. So I'm not sure what they are, college football playoff ranking, but on AP they're 25. Texas is 7. That's going to be a big game. I could easily see Texas losing that, especially because they don't have their quarterback, and if they do, Texas is out of the playoff contention. So that's a big impact game. Another one, Texas A&M at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is sitting at 11 in the AP rankings, but Texas A&M is one of those teams that could beat anybody at any time, or they could get blown out by anybody at any time. So I don't know. We'll see how that one plays out. Ole Miss currently has only one loss, so I mean they're technically still in the running for the playoffs. Probably not a team that's really going to be a contender. Another game as a Buckeye you may want to check out, the Notre Dame at Clemson game. Clemson's been terrible this year. They're 4-4, I think, but I could see this being a tough game playing at Clemson. And Notre Dame is a vulnerable team, but they are a good team at the same time. So obviously we want Notre Dame to win that one because first off, fuck Clemson. Second off, fuck Notre Dame too, but we need their resume to look better since we beat them. Anyway, moving on from that one. That's also a noon game. So that's it for the noon games, but hell, that's a big slate for noon games. I mean, that'll be one where you may want to have multiple screens up, kind of watching what's going on. So moving on to the 3:30 slot, Oklahoma at Oklahoma State. Obviously, another one-loss team, Oklahoma, who if they were to lose a game like this, would have them out of the contentions for the playoffs. I mean, I don't see them losing that game, but that's just maybe one to watch. Missouri at Georgia. This is a big one right here. I almost picked this one as my upset of the week, but I don't think that's going to happen. And my main reason for that is because I think that this is one of the only games this year that Georgia knows that they have to get up for. Obviously last week was that too with the Florida game just because of it being a big rivalry and whatnot. But I think that Georgia will get up for this game. I think they'll take care of business. And honestly, at that point, with them beating up the number 14 team, they may jump Ohio State in the college football playoff rankings. So we'll see how that works out. And then let me see here, couple more big time games this weekend. So the 7:30 slate, we have Washington at USC. That's one to watch out for. Now Washington is currently undefeated, sitting at I think number 5 in the college football playoff rankings. USC is a 2-loss team already. However, they have Caleb Williams, they have Lincoln Riley. That they could easily win this game. Washington's offense has struggled in some games this year. Now, I don't think they're going to really struggle against USC, but I don't think Washington's defense is going to be able to stop USC either. So that could be one that knocks a team potentially out of playoff contention if Washington were to lose. And then one more, and then I got my upset of the week I want to talk about because there is one game that will be a huge upset that I think I'm going to pick that one as my upset. We'll get into that in a second. The last game at looks like start time of 7:45, which is weird. LSU at Alabama. Obviously, LSU is a team that's probably not in playoff contention because they've already lost 2 games. But LSU beat Alabama last year. They're going to give them a fight this year. I still have Alabama as a playoff team if I were to pick today. So I am going to say Alabama wins this one. But, I mean, that's always a good game. Always one that you want to watch if you're a football fan overall. And then last game here, my upset of the week, and then we'll get into some Ohio State versus Rutgers stuff. My upset of the week is number 4 Florida State playing at Pitt. Now Pitt only has 2 wins this season. This is a crazy upset if it happens, right? But when I pick an upset, I like to pick it as a real upset, not like a 15 team beating a 5 team. That's not really an upset to me. Those teams just have played 2 different schedules, so their rankings are different. But the 15 team could be better than the 5 team. An example of that would be like Alabama. They have a loss. Washington doesn't. I think if they lined it up on the field, Alabama would take care of Washington pretty easily. That's just my opinion. So anyway, Florida State, number 4, at Pitt. That's my upset of the week. Book it. Mark it down. I think that Florida State's going to struggle, and Pitt is one of those teams that's good for one upset a year. And I think this is going to be the one. All right, so I'll get off of the national stuff. Let's get into this Ohio State versus Rutgers game. Obviously, I know that's like Evan was saying, that's what you guys want to hear mostly, which absolutely. I want to talk about Ohio State. just a lot of things going on nationally. And for me personally, I'm a big college football fan overall, not just Ohio State. However, Ohio State's my team. That's where I want to focus. So the first thing I want to talk about is the keys to victory for Ohio State. Now, I mentioned earlier in the show, if you were not here, I'm going to say it one more time. When I'm talking keys to victory against a team like Rutgers, I'm not saying Ohio State needs to do these things to win the game. They could probably do none of these things and still win the game because they're just that much better, that much more talented of a team. But these are the things that I want to see Ohio State do, and for them to look like a number one team, for them to look like a top team in the country in this game and take care of the business the way that they should. All right. Now, the first thing I want to talk about before I get into those keys of victory is so Michigan's already played Rutgers, right? Michigan's one of those teams that people consider like the best team in the country, top team, whatever. And that's obviously pending the cheating allegations that have been going on or that have been coming out. Michigan beat Rutgers 31-7, and their offense only scored 24 points. They had a pick six in that game that got them the remaining points, and their offense played the whole entire time. They put their backup in late in the game, but that was just running like a 4-minute offense just to try to finish the game out. Again, it was their offense only scored 24. So Rutgers is a legit defense this year. I do think that they can hold Ohio State to like 30 points probably, but like I said, I don't ever see Ohio State being a threat to lose this game because of their defense, and that can help me transition into my first key to victory. Talking about the defense, I think that Ohio State's defense needs to stop the quarterback run. Rutgers has a quarterback that is able to take off. He can house it. He can extend plays with his feet. He's not the greatest passer out there, but he can still complete passes. At the same time, Ohio State really needs to keep him in the pocket and not let him beat them and get like big third down conversions, all that good stuff. So that's my first one. Stop the quarterback run. The second one is going to be continue evolving the run game. So Ohio State's run game against Wisconsin was phenomenal. And I think that a lot of it had to do with scheme. A lot of it had to do with getting TreVeyon Henderson back. A lot of it had to do with the Ohio State offensive line just kind of stepping their game up and really putting their face and their hands on people and moving them out of the way. And I think that is what this offensive line can be. I'm actually really surprised. Throughout this week, I've seen a lot of people talking about how Ohio State's offensive line is terrible this year. And honestly, I just don't agree with that. I've never agreed with that. I think they started off the year rough. They needed to gel, which is going to happen when you have 3 new starters on the offensive line, especially when you have 2 guys who are playing for the first time, really. Like Carson Hinsman at center is playing his first college ball, and then Josh Simmons at left tackle, his first time playing left tackle in his whole life, I think. Even when he was in high school, I think he didn't play left tackle. I could be wrong about that, but I know at least in his college career, it's his first time playing left tackle. So, but I think that they've really been gelling, and I think that Ryan Day needs to open up this run game more than he really needs to open up the pass game, in my opinion. And when I say open it up, I mean be multiple, do a lot of different things in the run game, and stick to it. Let your running back, your bell cow, TreVeyon Henderson, let him get 20 carries a game. Like, giving TreVeyon Henderson the ball 20 times is going to lead to success for this offense, in my opinion. I get, targeting Marv 10, 15 times a game is also going to lead to success. That's fine. Same with the Emeka Egbuka. That's fine, right? But you cannot leave TreVeyon Henderson out of that, because if you look at the best players on this offense, you go Marvin Harrison Jr., probably Emeka, and then Trey. An argument could probably be made that you could go Marv, Trey, Emeka. We'll see. But you got to give Trey the ball and keep evolving this run game, because that can be what you lean on late in the season. You may need to lean on that, honestly. Like the way that Kyle's played this year, I could easily see Ohio State needing to lean on the run game to get some offensive production against some of the better teams they play. All right, and then the last one, it's a perfect transition into the last key to victory I have, is that Kyle McCord needs to play with confidence. All right, I talked to my buddy Mark a lot about Kyle McCord and how is he not very good? I don't know. I think he has talent. I think that he just doesn't look confident. But then there'll be times throughout a game where he'll step up in the pocket and throw a dot, and he does look confident. But you don't see that throughout the whole game. I feel like he's too like lackadaisical when he's out there. Sometimes, he'll be getting pressure and he won't be moving his feet. He won't be getting to the open spot so he can get the ball downfield. And I don't know how to fix that when it's like sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. Hopefully Ryan Day will continue working with him on that because honestly, the kid has gotten a lot better. It's something that I've been hard on him all year, but he's gotten a lot better throughout the year. His footwork has gotten better. His accuracy, at least from the Penn State game to the Wisconsin game, is a lot better. I think that he needs to continue working on his mechanics and continue being consistent with his mechanics because sometimes he just looks like there'll be plays where he doesn't even look like a quarterback in my opinion. Like I'm looking at this guy, I'm like, there's no way that you've been playing quarterback for your whole life. And then there's other plays where it's like, I mean, how many quarterbacks in the country would have done that? Maybe like 3 or 4, 5. It happened. Like he has plays like that where it's like, wow, okay, you're talented. Now let's see it more often. Instead, we get talent, and then someone who looks like they've never played quarterback before. So I don't know. I need to see him go out there with confidence, and I need to see him be like, I'm the guy. I'm gonna make this happen. And honestly, I think that's one of the keys to this offense really taking the next step. Maybe Kyle McCord will be more confident having Emeka Egbuka out there. Early in the year, him and Emeka really did have a good connection where, they were able to make some big plays, especially in big time moments. Look back to the Notre Dame game, obviously the 3rd down and 19 or whatever. They got like a 20-yard pass. But I mean, that was all like chemistry between the wide receiver and the quarterback. Kyle knew exactly where to throw it. Emeka knew exactly where he needed to stop right in between 2 defenders. And that was a confident ass throw from Kyle McCord. I need to see that. I want to see him play every single drive like there's 2 minutes left and you have to score a touchdown or you lose the game. Maybe that's what he needs, that kind of mentality. And then, so I mean, that was it for the keys to victory. So just a couple other things about this game. If you guys are in the chat, let me know what you think like the final score will be because I'm going to give my final score prediction here in a minute. I think that Ohio State's defense is really going to take control of this game, and I'm interested to see what it looks like with Sonny Styles out there instead of sorry, I'm having a brain fart. Instead of Lathan Ransom because Lathan is hurt right now. Apparently, what Jim Knowles said is that Sonny Styles is going to step into that role. So we're going to be looking at a defense where your secondary is going to be Davison Igbinosun, dog. Josh Proctor, dog. Sonny Styles, dog. Lathan is too, so don't get me wrong. Jordan Hancock, dog. Denzel Burke, dog. I mean, that secondary is, if that's not the best secondary in college football, then there's some team that I haven't watched close enough, I guess. Because I know there's some, you look at Alabama, they have Caleb Downs, who is a true freshman but is balling. And they have Kool-Aid McKinstry, who is probably the best corner in the country, maybe, up there with Denzel and some other guys. But I don't know if they have a full 5-man secondary like Ohio State has. I don't know, man. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And I want to see this defensive line really step their game up again this week because I think they've been getting better and better as the season goes on. You look at guys like Jack Sawyer, probably just had his best game against Wisconsin. JT Tuimoloau, it still feels like he is poised to have just a breakout huge game in my opinion. And I don't necessarily know if I want to see that against Rutgers. Probably not. I just want to see him make some plays like he always does and just be the guy that he is and continue getting better. But really where I could see a breakout game in this game is the interior. I think a guy like Mike Hall Jr., I think that he is going to have a breakout game in this game. The reason why I say that, right, their quarterback is someone who, like I said before, he's really mobile, he's fast, he's twitchy. Mike Hall Jr. is a linebacker playing the interior defensive line position. He is twitched up, he is fast as hell, he's quick, he gets past blocks super fast. So I could really see him having like a 2-sack game where he just kind of beats the hell out of a defensive lineman and gets to the backfield. The quarterback has nowhere to go because JTT and Jack Sawyer or whoever the opposite defensive end of JTT is are keeping him in the pocket. Look for a big game from Mike Hall. And then in terms of like the other part of the defense that I probably don't talk about enough, because there's really nothing flashy coming out of there. There's nothing crazy. The linebacker unit, I think that they've been playing a lot better. We gave them so much shit early in the year, and I think the biggest part or the biggest reason for that was because they were the weakest unit on a really good team, a really good defense. Um, I don't think the linebackers ever really played terrible. I just think that not having them attacking the line of scrimmage like they were last year is making them not look as twitched up and getting them out of position sometimes if they were to like make a wrong read, for example. But they've been playing a lot better. Tommy Eichenberg is back to like all American level. And then you got Cody Simon and Steel Chambers rotating at that other position. And I mean, honestly, they've both been playing well. Steel Chambers, I think he either needed some time off or he needed to have that pressure put on him to step his game up, because I honestly think that like the last 2 games he's back to like how he was last year, which Steele was a good linebacker last year. I mean, don't get me wrong, teams were able to exploit him and like pass coverage and stuff like that. However, he was definitely a good player, so I'm not gonna sit here and act like he wasn't. And I think he's kind of back to that form, and he still has Cody Simon mixing in. And Cody is one of them guys who I thought would never be a starter at Ohio State, but he's playing at a level now where I feel like he definitely can be. So I think this defense is going to shut this shit down, man. I really do. I think like I don't even know if I'm going to give Rutgers a touchdown. I think maybe they score 3 points. Um, my final score in this game is probably going to be, I don't know, because like I said, they have a good defense. So that's what concerns me in this game is our offense versus their defense. They're kind of like Ohio State. They force you to drive the field. Rutgers has given up the same amount of 40-yard plays as Ohio State, which is 0, less 30-yard plays and less 20-yard plays than Ohio State. Now, Ohio State's played a lot better team so far. And then, the only good team Rutgers has really played is Michigan. Other than that, they haven't really played anyone. But at the same time, like that's still a feat in its own. If Ohio State didn't play anyone and they were leading the nation basically in 40, 30, and 20-yard plays, I would be popping off. I would be talking my shit. So I don't know. I think that Greg Schiano is a defensive coach, and he really has his defense playing smart football. And then the one way that I could see them actually scoring in this game, like a touchdown, would be some tricky shit. Because every time Ohio State plays Greg Schiano, he likes to pull out trick plays, especially with special teams where Ohio State's already not great. I don't know. So we'll see. I don't think they get that off though. I think that if they try to run a trick play on our defense, it's not really going to work because they're so disciplined this year. And then our special teams, I think that they're aware that Rutgers is going to try to do some trickery, and they'll shut that stuff down too. So I don't know. I think I have my final score in this game at let's see. I haven't even picked it yet, so I have it at 38-3. 38-3. Ohio State wins. Looks dominant. Offense looks good. Gets them out of the game. I would say like maybe halfway through the fourth quarter. The second team comes in and 38-3. That's where I'm at with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the show up for today, guys. Thanks for coming. I'll be live again on Monday, 10 a.m. I can't wait for this weekend of college football. Make sure you guys enjoy it. Have a drink, kick back with your family, study it, whatever you like to do. Because I kind of look at it when I'm studying it, but that's just because I love it so much. But listen, I'm gonna enjoy it. You guys enjoy it. Peace out, guys. Have a great weekend.